About these after-dinner chats, well, the conversation started at dinner parties that I host. About these after-dinner chats, well, the conversation started at dinner parties that I hosted first in Sydney, Singapore, Shanghai, Dubai, and now London, basically wherever I'm working. Dinners are always fun, sometimes useful, and for me, it's been a way over the years to get to know fabulous people who are always a little bit senior, a little bit fun, a little bit smarter, brighter, shinier than most. Claire Gleeson-Landry and I were introduced by mutual friends at another diner at the next dinner party, also known as TNDP because the world needs another bloody abbreviation. Claire's experience crosses a formidable 17 years in business and publisher sales, ad tech firms, and navigating the worlds of direct, programmatic, digital, and even print. Currently, she's head of strategic partnerships Europe at Goodloop, and she knows a thing or two about making ads, well, good. Claire's a seasoned sales professional, people manager, and adept at forging strong partnerships and driving revenue in the ever-evolving ad tech landscape. She also tells a good story. See what you think after this after-dinner chat.
This episode is brought to you by jobsandadtech.com, the only jobs board dedicated to digital media and the ad tech industry. If you're hiring now, use promo code JWPOD, JWPOD, for a 10% discount on any package. Jobsandadtech.com, it's where ad techers go to find their next role.
Claire, thanks for joining me. If we may, I'm going to jump straight in.
Yeah, go for it.
So the first question is, what's been in the news this week that's caught your eye?
Ooh, this is quite an interesting one. And whilst I don't work in the world of data and transparency necessarily, I thought it was really interesting last week, the announcement of OpenSincera from the trade desk. So I think we talk a lot about this at Goodloop in terms of ad quality and the health of the general supply chain, partly because we have a product that very much focuses on sustainability, and the root of sort of a lot of sustainability challenges within our industry are the lack of transparency, terrible supply chains, terrible publishers putting loads and loads of ads on pages, and all of those things ultimately ladder up to quite terrible sustainability scores and create a lot of inefficiency. So I thought the launch of that, an open, free to market platform, and sort of removing all those barriers to transparency, really clever, obviously, show the problem for free and then sell the solution. But I think anything that, removes those barriers and helps promote industry transparency is really, really important at the moment, especially, budgets are under pressure, loads and loads more sort of scrutiny going on with where media budgets are spent, lots of trading deals being pushed for preferred suppliers. And so anything that can give a lot more transparency across the open web, etc., I think is a really good thing. Enabling.
Not everybody that I know is a programmatic trader. So tell us, what does that mean for the transparency that OpenSincera is going to give on that buying tool, the trade desk?
Well, I guess ultimately, they can incorporate into Kukai. I always say it wrong. I'm like, Kokai, because I'm a kid from the 90s, Kokai. It basically enables a programmatic trader to be able to take action in real time as well, and sort of improve the campaign in flight, and ultimately avoid low value or low quality inventory, which is only a good thing. So much better for a brand in terms of appearing in really good quality environments. And also it sort of subtly pressures other platforms to raise their standards and raise the game, sort of driving a lot more transparency across the internet. So ultimately, I think it's a pretty good thing in that respect. It can all be, if you're toiling away in the trade desk, and having never set up a campaign in the trade desk myself, because I don't work in that side of the business. Ultimately, I guess the pressures that programmatic traders are going to be under is to, get the most bang for their buck, as it were, and deliver against audiences, but making sure that they're appearing in really good quality placements, ultimately.
The trade desk is a really interesting business, how they are always trying to help one step, go one step further than the biggest competition that they might have in the big beasts out there. And Jeff Green, I saw recently, is just facing the flack that he's getting for having become so big that he's no longer the pirate. He's now become the Navy, and going, well, actually, don't stop hating me. I'm actually trying to do the right thing here. I'm a massive fan of the open web and how we can help things get clearer and more transparent. And I wrote a piece a long time ago titled "Transparency is a Murky Word," and it has become that. It's an interesting world how we try and help people get ripped off less within the digital media buying space, and there are businesses trying very hard to do that, which is a nice segue, I thought, for you to tell us a little bit about what your business is up to these days and how it's helping people get ripped off less.
Yeah. So Goodloop, we've been around for ages. I'm like, yeah, we're a startup. And then I'm like, no, we've been going for 8 years. But we're still quite plucky and scrappy in that respect. So to anyone who's watching this who doesn't know Goodloop, essentially, we're a good engagement platform. Eyeballs are hard to get online, and good quality eyeballs are hard to get. So we help brands earn engagement by leveraging good. So a lot of brands will have really amazing partnerships that very much exist in the sort of back end of their business. Someone in CSR will be spearheading it, and it will appear on a small part of the CSR page somewhere on a brand's website. And actually, when you pull those amazing partnerships to the foreground, it ultimately drives much better results for your advertising. 87% of consumers will buy from brands that reflect the things that they care about. So we've been on a mission to sort of take a small percentage of the billions of dollars that slosh around our industry every year, take them away from the biggies, and do some good with it. So we've just by basically giving people a reason to watch ads and not hit that tempting skip button, or not say don't serve me this again. So there's a very much a sort of like, there's an obvious transaction that happens between a consumer and the brand. In the case of video, for example, we help drive completed view rates just by bringing that good story into it all. It's very, very simple mechanic. And in return, brand gets to do good. The consumer gets to do some good for free because the brand funds that donation. And yeah, it's turning the cost per thousand or the cost per completed view into something good. And the results ultimately drive costs down. So we see typically a sort of reduction in cost per click by 60 to 80%, which is brilliant, saving people money, doing more good with media budgets. And we also have a lot of case studies in terms when we've helped reduce the cost per completed view by about a third, again, driving more value in that respect and reducing wastage. But at the same time, not only is it just about sort of like the zeros on a spreadsheet, but also driving better marketing outcomes ultimately. So helping brands earn attention, build trust, shift perceptions just by doing this good stuff. So it's an exciting time, but it's also a really challenging time, right? This sort of era of cultural conservatism has, I wouldn't even say crept. It's sprinted into reality quite quickly, especially since what happened over in the States and the administration, and then also the UK being a bit weird still, and getting caught up in that. So it's a challenge, but it's an interesting one.
Is that your euphemism, the era of cultural conservatism? Or did you take that from somewhere? I like that line.
We talk about it a lot at work, actually. Half of our business is based over in the States, and these are the everyday challenges. Yes, they're in New York and in the nice bubble of New York where everything feels okay, but go and visit a client in, I don't know, Michigan or something, or, one of the southern states, and it's very, very different. It's a big challenge. And I think there's a lot of wariness, especially sort of all the nonsense around cancelling DEI and you know, how diversity, equity and inclusion is, you know, a bad thing. So I think a lot of brands are being a bit more cautious, but those that really have these values that are so entrenched will continue to succeed. The fakers are sort of ducking out, I guess. But the ones that have always believed in these things will sort of stand firm against it.
Who are the biggest beneficiaries of your business?
I'd say charities and brands. So charities obviously benefit.
Which charities are you? Who chooses which charity?
Yeah, so we have about 300 on our files, and they could be anything from, you know, women's health charities through to youth mental health charities, getting girls into coding, helping young Black people get into creative arts, all sorts around globally as well, but also the big obvious ones, charities like UNICEF or Red Cross. They're all beneficiaries, and we'll support from the smallest local charity all the way through to the big global ones. So the charities fundamentally benefit from the revenue that they get. They also get their logo appears on the creative as well, so they get that sort of earned reach and awareness. So that's brilliant for brands, for charities, and then for brands, ultimately they get to demonstrate the good stuff that they do actually care about, and they get much better results ultimately. So it's a kind of win-win whether you work in procurement at a brand or if you are a brand lead. You're gonna see the benefits of doing it, of using Goodloop.
Thank you. If I may, I'm going to jump to the next section of the pod. It's the high five section. Are you ready for this? First up is your hero in context of ripped off less.
I would say, okay, I'm going to be bold. I'm going to say my CEO, Amy Williams, because she came up with Goodloop. It's her baby that she built when she was 25. She's gone on to have a real baby subsequently, just recently. And I think, you know, being a founder and CEO in this industry is a real challenge. Being one who's a woman who has just had a baby is a real challenge as well. And I think it's so interesting, her sort of background and history, starting off in Ogilvy and then going, oh, no one likes advertising. How do we change that? So she's a bit of a hero, but that sounds a bit sort of fangirly, but I'm a fan. Otherwise I wouldn't work here.
You know, I love that. And I love people who are really thrilled to be where they are and who they're working with. So last week I had Dilip Shukla. I don't know if you know Dilip.
Yes.
He was talking about how his hero is the man who founded the business that he works in as well. And I love the fact that people who are working in things that are just such exciting places to be, that are making a real difference.
Yeah.
And enjoyable as well as paying the bills. That's
exactly that. And I think we're really lucky at Goodloop. Inevitably, because we do such good stuff, we have some real good eggs. Can you hear my dog? She's being really urgent with her barking. We have some really good people who care. And I think that really helps when you come into work or you're logging online at home. It really helps when you work with goodies. And it makes the day easier as well, rather than working with a bunch of lunatics.
Next question. What's your best decision?
Oh, no, I can't now say best decision was to come and work at Goodloop. My best decision, I think, was leaving The Guardian. I was there for 8 or 9 years. I really grew up there. And I just became so overwhelmed working on a daily news cycle. I'm a news obsessive. And at a time sort of post-Brexit, Trump, everything like that, I was like, I'm burning out. There's so much news to read, but also the challenge of trying to monetize news at a time where everyone wanted to avoid bad news because of brand suitability and brand safety and whatever ways to defund the press was being touted at the time. But so that was a really good decision of mine. However, I did leave without a job to go to. I just panicked one day. I went, I can't do it.
Risky, but hey, it's paid off, it seems. Your worst decision?
Going to work at the BBC when I was 28 for multiple reasons. One, I lived in East London, and trying to commute to West London was an absolute disaster. So it was over at TV Centre. Two, it was a very sort of slow-moving insular company. Even though it was a part of BBC Worldwide, things just didn't move. And obviously a lot has changed there since. It was Worldwide was acquired by Immediate Media. But having always worked publishing side, I think when I think about the various different publishers I worked at, my sort of 11 months at the BBC is really indicative of how much I didn't like it, because everywhere else I'd worked for really long chunks of time. So that was a bad idea, but I did it when I came back from traveling. So it was kind of like, I just got to get a job. But no, that was probably a bad decision on my part. It did lead me to The Guardian.
Funniest moment?
Discovering that I was allergic to walnuts at Media Week Awards when The Guardian was up for Sales Team of the Year, and having such a bad allergic reaction that my face came up with like welts. And I went to the bathroom. I didn't have any makeup with me, and a really lovely girl who I think was Middle Eastern offered to cover up my makeup, but she basically made me look like Kim Kardashian. And then we won. And so I had to go up on stage with just like throbbing pain on my face. So all the photos of that night, I'm like discreetly on the back row.
I'm so glad it wasn't anaphylactic or anything like that.
Oh,
That would have been even worse, right? Okay. Now, the final one is one more person. I'm going to ask you to recommend one more person to me to speak to on here, or therefore to come to a dinner. Someone that you think you could introduce me to who might be willing.
I think Katie Jones. Do you know Katie? She's at Index Exchange. She has been my mentor for such a long time, from when we worked together at The Guardian to then when she went to Beeswax, and she was an early investor in Goodloop, and she's been a real, awesome source of wisdom. Plus, she's just great fun, and she knows everyone. So I think she's great, and I think she's really insightful, and I think she's a perfect example of a really influential woman within our industry. We talk a lot about godfathers of our industry, but we need more godmothers, I think.
On that note, Claire, thank you so much. I will indeed reach out to Katie. And thank you so much for coming on and having a chat to us today.
Absolute pleasure. See you very soon.